I was not there for that. But it looks like our guest is here. I'm not touching a thing. You guys can bring him in. I don't want to.
I don't want to touch anything because the guest is here. I'll wait till he leaves and then I'll start touching things.
I'll add.
That's inappropriate. Why do you have to do that?
I gotta let him know what he's in for. That's what it is.
He's been in the wrestling business for 20 years. He knows what he signed up for.
Mr. Stevens, improvise. You got to be able to think on the fly. Sometimes shit goes haywire, and you got to roll with the punches. So I understand totally.
Nothing's really going haywire. We're just a complete fucking train wreck every single week.
That also happens.
Eric, how are you tonight?
Good. How are you gentlemen doing tonight?
We're having a great time, man. We're excited to talk to you. I know Brando and myself have been fans of yours for quite a bit of time. And I was a little sad to see you leave the game, but I'm happy you're back. And,
which time?
The second time.
Okay.
The first time was rough too.
You lost track.
You were riding high in Ring of Honor when you, when they told you they didn't have anything for you and you kind of lost your love.
I wish they would have told me that. It was kind of reflected in the booking, and then we'll catch you on the flip side, and the flip side never comes around. But we can cross that bridge when we come to it. But yeah, I've become a cliche. I retire and unretire at a moment's notice when I get the itch, and then I just fade into obscurity once again. And when I feel overwhelmed,
I don't know if it's obscure. I mean, you came back. People are excited when you came back.
Relative obscurity. Okay, civilian life, as I like to call it.
If someone had told you 20 years ago that when you were done training with Roddy, that 20 years later you guys would be tearing it up at DPW, would you just kind of laughed at them and thought nothing of it?
It seems a little cheesy, but I knew we'd always be linked. We were best friends. We had a bond formed outside of wrestling, but it was fortified with what occurred in wrestling. And honestly, I would have been surprised that we weren't still in Ring of Honor because, during the glory years, we thought that was a ship that was never going to run aground. We thought it was untouchable, but that's being young and naive and not really understanding the business side of professional wrestling, and that all of these opportunities are fleeting.
Now, I'm not. Ring of Honor, super duper important to me. I loved Ring of Honor, and I had so much hope when Tony Khan took it over. But man, they need to change the name of the company now. I mean, they have killed it. And I was trying to watch old Ring of Honor today to catch up and just kind of refresh myself on Erick Stevens. All the stuff from like 2008, 2009, there's no commentary.
Yeah, that Honor Club has some issues. There are some gaps, but I like it just because I can relive the glory years. And frankly, 2009, I don't really care to relive whatsoever. So I like to go, 2007, 2008. But as far as Ring of Honor goes, I say this on Twitter a lot, and nobody believes me. But I say I'm not looking for a contract. I'm 43. Look, this ship has sailed. Okay, I'm not saying I can't go. I can still hang with these kids. But as far as the ceiling, as far as the mileage left on my tires, it's minuscule. So I have the freedom to not only participate in the business I love, but also express myself freely and honestly. So Ring of Honor, just like Double T, we kind of call it that Double T. Are we okay now?
Yeah.
Are we on working name terms? Obviously, that I love Ring of Honor. Anybody that was around and was in the company at that point probably loved Ring of Honor. And there's a certain culture, a certain air to Ring of Honor that's been long gone. You're not going to recapture that, and it's kind of it's a fool's errand to try and recapture that. And so my hope was that when Tony bought it, since he's a huge nerd, and I posted on DVDVR at the same time as Tony Khan. We both posted at the same time. We talked with the same threads. So it's I'm more like him than a lot of wrestlers are more like him than they will care to admit. But anyways, I really thought he would do it justice, but I think he's overwhelmed and there's a lot of stuff on his plate. So he kind of figured it'd just be easier to make it the developmental arm of AEW. than to keep the spirit alive, so to speak. I think it should just turn into a women's show at this point. Let's give it to the ladies. Give it to the ladies. Change, screw Ring of Honor. Let it die. And you got so many talented women on your roster. Let them go wrestle over there. Let them have their own show. Because nobody else. I mean, no offense, but are people watching Ring of Honor when Bandito's not on? And I have a lot of my friends are on there, and that's not. And it's not a dig at them. It's a dig at the overwhelming amount of wrestling content and how so much even great wrestling goes unseen just because it's there's just too much of it these days. But that was my hot take. And I did fantasy book on Twitter. I did pitch a Ring of Honor reboot with the whole spirit, book smaller buildings, don't piggyback off AEW, bring the guardrails back, run it like an indie with a lot of money. But that's not cool. So I think we need to forget what Ring of Honor used to be and move on.
Yeah, no, it's damn it, but it stings, Eric. It stings. Like, fuck, I loved Ring of Honor, and like even towards the end, like some of the shit they were doing was great, and like we had Vincent on the show after they did that final battle. He was like, Jay Lethal was going to join the Righteous, and and I was like, God damn it, it's a killer, man. And now like you're fucking.
I will say it's not a coincidence that I ended up in DPW because I watched some DPW shows and I was like, this seems familiar. Like this reminds me a lot of Ring of Honor back in the golden years.
Now, I know you'll be at Showdown 2 this Friday night taking on Brian Keith. Do you know if you're going to be out here in Jersey for the November 21st DPW show in Newark?
Which one? You know what? I've been hitting that a lot, and it's been a long day. So, yes, I believe so. I believe I will be on the November show. The company's usually good about letting me know ahead of time, but like I said, I've been through the ringer today, but I made it here, and that's a small miracle. At 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time after a day of fatherhood, it's a big ask, but I made it happen.
Oh, you had a day too, because Handsome Kevin had a day, Brundo had a day, and Tony had a day too.
They seem to be going around, so I'm not. Yeah. I'm glad I'm not alone.
I escaped.
Yes. You didn't go to work today.
No, right? I'm off on Mondays.
There you go.
So, Eric, we were talking last week. When you took time off, though, you were doing like cookies or something, right? You were making your own food.
Oh, I did a bunch of stuff. I've lived many lives. I've done a lot of cool stuff. When I retired, I went into fitness, and I was a personal trainer. That's actually where I met my wife, actually through Match.com, but also she, by a crazy twist of fate, worked out at the same gym that I worked at. So that worked out, and I kind of dabbled in some things. I'd gotten a powerlifting for a while, which is insanely stupid when you put yourself through years upon years of professional wrestling. I did pretty good for a while until my body crapped out, and I had hip surgery, I had knee surgery. And so, I've always been into fitness, but I stopped trying to make fitness my entire identity. I got out of the fitness business. I went to the gym for a while, I got out of that. And so I always loved food. And one day we kind of threw out the idea, my wife and I, of starting our own cookie company. And this is right around COVID at the time, right pre-COVID. And so we started shipping them. And of course, when COVID hit, we were making a lot of cookies and selling a lot of cookies. And so we did so well that we made the fatal error that many business owners do. They move from, shipping only to a brick and mortar. And it turns out that the food business is tougher than the wrestling business. I told somebody the other day, I go, if you want to make money and you have the decision to start a food spot or to get into professional wrestling, get into professional wrestling, because the odds of you making a good living are exponentially higher in professional wrestling. But I will say this, I was damn good at making cookies. You don't open up your own storefront if you're not good enough, but I was good. And I didn't get too high on my own supply, but I had to do quality control. That's the kind of guy I am. And so I knew what I was dealing with. And, all my wrestler friends were saying how good they were, but now I can't trust all of them because some of them just eat like protein cookies, and so their taste buds are all messed up. But we did it. We had a good run, just kind of like my first Ring of Honor run. I don't have like there's no regrets about it. It's just, you know, it ended the way it ended, and we move on to the next adventure.
What was your favorite cookie, and what was your best selling cookie?
Best selling was, of course, plain chocolate chip. Everybody just wants the chocolate chip because it's like the glazed donut. You know, you get an idea of how good the place is. And some people are just basic. You know, they don't like the fancy cookies. And I think that my favorite cookie was basically anything. This is such a cop out, but like anything with peanut butter and chocolate, I would have such a hard time resisting, especially if there was a textural element. If you have a crunchy component and you have salty from the peanut butter, salty and sweet, it was game over for me. Like Biscoff cookies, we did a peanut butter and a biscuit. We combined peanut butter and Biscoff cookies together a lot. My wife loves Biscoff cookies, so I was trying to always get points with her and just stuff like that. You know, I was like a mad scientist. We'd come up with new flavors. We do a new menu every week. It was exhausting, but it was easy for me because I just have the brain of a fat 7-year-old.
A cookie menu?
Oh yeah, we would ship 5 different cookies a week, and we would have in our store probably another 10 flavors. And so that was the issue too, was that I'm not a business guy. My wife's the business person. And the business plan, my goal was to just go viral, get as much, you know, publicity from making these crazy cookies as possible. And that works. Problem is, I wasn't thinking about profit margins. I wasn't thinking about, you know, like how much my supplies cost and my margins and all these things. And that bit me in the ass because I found myself painted into a corner and I couldn't get out. And my wife sat me down. She's like, listen, the only way this place is going to make money now is if we completely change the cookie and go from the ground up and make it a completely different thing. And I was like, I won't do it. I'd rather shut this place down. And so we did.
Jeez.
The restaurant industry is not easy, my friend. I know that.
No,
We got True
it's
Prince
not.
of Pro comments. I ordered cookies from
Oh.
Eric before. They were seriously some of the best cookies I've ever had.
Look, I appreciate that so much, but I got to say, when people bring it up at the shows and the first thing they say to me is, man, your cookies were so good. I'm like, I just killed myself out there. And they could. But you know what? Once I saw my product, you know what? That's pretty cool that people remember. Just think about all the food you eat over the course of your life. You know, like those cookies were memorable, and that's all that matters to me. Just like, you know, somebody brings up a match I had, I'm like, that's amazing to me.
You ever think about maybe cross them over, bring the cookies to the gimmick table?
I did think about that, and you know what was funny? During my first comeback, I would bring them the extras we had to shows, and I was like a drug dealer, you know, like give them their first taste for free, and I would like hook them, and then they would just order. But I got stopped multiple times by TSA because they're like, "What are these?" I'm like, "Those are cookies," and most of our cookies weighed at least half a pound. Some of them were like 10 ounces. Wow. And so they would always investigate. I always get my balls busted for my cookies. But yeah, there was some times. I've never been a real big merch guy. Once again, business. It's not really my thing. I know people want it, but I'm always just not in a great mood I'm not a schmoozer. You know, if I have a social interaction, it's because I really want it. You know what I mean? For better or for worse, I'm never going to, if you come up to me at a show, I'm never going to put on a good face to impress you, to sell shirts or 8x10s to you. I'm not going to be a dickhead either, but you know what I mean? You know, I don't feel the pressure to put on a happy face if I don't have to, just to sell merch. And I've always kind of found that kind of parasocial relationship that wrestlers have on social media with their fans to be a little icky to me. You know what I mean? It feels like being a prostitute a little bit. Like I gotta be cool with you so you buy my merch, and I can't have my own opinions or express myself. But I digress. Cookies.
No, but you know what? See,
cross all lines.
The flip side of that, though, like for me, like I got enough merchandise, like so I won't go talk to somebody at the table because I feel like a shithead if I go up and I have a conversation with you and then I don't buy anything and I just walk away.
Yeah, it is kind of overwhelming too. Like during the whole merch surge, there's just so many people. And what I do is I come out and I walk around like the crowd part where they were sitting. If somebody finds me, they find me. It's kind of like an Easter egg hunt. Like, oh, wrestler, you know, I'm going to talk to them. I'm not trying to hide. I'm just like, let me see if anyone wants to talk to me. And if somebody wants to talk to me, they'll come over to me. But I've never been a big merch guy. Also, it's just like checking another bag. It's such a pain in the ass. But I will be making shirts for this one because I have some good ideas because it's like a comeback tour. So I figured I'd lean into that aesthetic. So I have some cool merch ideas. But other than that, I'm not trying to make my kids' college tuition with T-shirts, and I would never print 8x10s. I don't like looking at myself. I can imagine someone else going to buy a fucking picture. What the hell? Some of these guys got bodies. I was like, man, I would sell so many 8x10s that I look like you. I was saying that I saw Ace Austin on TV the other day. I was like, Jesus, man. What the hell? I would just sell pictures of my legs if I looked like that.
Dude, I watched fucking Collision Saturday night, and he gets on the ropes, and his legs look like tree trunks.
I remember I was on a show with him right before COVID, and I remember like walking in the door, and I was like Ace, and I shook his hand. And I go, I thought you were a cruiserweight, dude. This is in 2009. This is in 2019. He's always been big, and I'm like, yo, that you're making me feel terrible right now because I'm supposed to be a heavyweight. And you're like more jacked than me. So he's one of those guys, kind of like a Pac, where he's not deceptive anymore, but it's he looks much bigger than you would think.
I got to ask you, back in the day, I mean, if you follow Eric on social media at Erick Stevens 82 on Twitter, you could tell you're a lifelong wrestling fan. When you got in the business in FIP or in a tag team, did you have to go to Doc and be like, hey, we're going to be the Miracle Violence the Miracle Violence Connection 2005, like, or were you just like, fuck it, let's call ourselves this, and if it gets his attention, it's bonus?
I don't mean to pass the heat, but that was Madison's idea. That wasn't my idea. I was a huge Dr. Death fan. I kind of patterned myself as like a pocket Steve Williams early on in my career, and I loved the idea, and I didn't really even think about like the permission aspect of it because I had never. It's just so you're so far removed from. But once again, Madison was trained by Steve Kern. Steve Kern is very connected, so I don't know if you ever ran it by him or not. But at the end of the day, that was Steve's call, and I was happy to be there because that was like my first real program in FIP. It was the first like time that I felt that I was being invested in by a promoter, so it felt pretty cool.
I got to pivot real quick. I see an Arcade 1-Up Simpsons behind you. You love that game as much as I do?
Yes. These actually, so I have.
Oh, you got a few of them. Okay.
So this is the kind of custom fabricated one with like 1,000 games in it, and it's the Ninja Turtles like bar top style. But I also have, I don't know if you guys can see back there. We got
nice.
NBA Jam, and we got Mortal Kombat 2. It's actually a Mortal Kombat collection. Those were in my cookie shop because my cookies company was 90s themed. So it kind of looked like the inside of the Max from Saved by the Bell. That was my vision. Another thing I'm proud of, I made that shit come to life. And I saw it in my head. I made it happen. But so yeah, I love arcade games. I grew up in arcades as a 90s kid. So I have a lot of fun playing with my kids and like telling them how things used to be and how they never will be again. And sound like a real boomer.
So I've got a Pac-Man and a Space Invaders, and I really enjoy the Space Invaders, even though it's just Space Invaders. That's like my favorite machine. I even got a couple of countercades. Like I got Frogger, which has 1942 on it. No, Time Pilot. Time Pilot's one of my all-time favorites. But I'm going to pivot back to The Simpsons. Are you a console player now, or do you play Fortnite?
I'll answer the second question first. I'm 43 years old. No, I don't play Fortnite. I will not let my kids play. I'm a huge nerd, and so but now in 2025, and as a parent, I have come to this crossroads that many parents have, where they have the screen dilemma. We have all these the research about how it affects these kids' brains and their development. Not to mention the social issues with like phones and stuff. There's kids in my son's. He's 9 years old. His friends have phones. It's crazy. I'm not going to do all that. So Fortnite and playing with grown people that I'm not even going to get into the chats because listen, we've all been in one of those. He can do that with his friends when he's playing right next to him. I'm like, you want to play video games with somebody? You go to your friend's house, they come over here, or you can play with me and I'll whoop your ass. And so that's what we'll do.
See, yeah, that's old school. Like that's like pull out the Nintendo 64, get everybody on some No Mercy or some GoldenEye,
Right.
stuff like that. I get it. The only reason I bring it up is Fortnite this particular month is
I saw the Simpsons
it's
mod.
all
Yeah.
Simpsons, dude. It looks just like you're watching the cartoon. It's insane the detail they put into it.
Yeah, I think the crossover stuff's cool. I think the little cross promotion little gimmicks they do are cool, but I'm not big into kind of spazzy type shooters like that. I do play consoles, but I don't play often because I have no time. And there are, in my hierarchy of my life, there's things that are just end up being more important, which is the story of adulthood, like having 3 kids and all these responsibilities. Man, sometimes I want to play, I want to just play for 6 hours, like I used to into the early morning, like when I was on Modern Warfare 2. I want to go back to the good old days and just not have to wake up for anything, but that's not my life anymore. So I got a PS5, I got all the retro consoles. My son and I play the WWE games a lot, and we have a lot of fun with those. For all of their faults, you can do some really wacky shit in those games, and it's really fun, especially when you play and watch through the lens of a child. Video games, just like wrestling, are just way more enjoyable.
No, I could tell you this much. We toyed around with the idea of having a video game streaming network as part of like what we do. And yeah, the chat's just amongst us. Never going to happen. Just never going to happen. We're awful to each other. I'll leave it at that.
You mentioned your son and you guys are playing wrestling now.
Mhm.
So you took a couple years off. Now that you're back into wrestling, is your son watching you wrestle?
Yes, he had actually gotten into wrestling. He watched a couple of my matches back in 2019, 2020, but he didn't really know what was going on. Now that he's 9 years old, he's with it. He's a big wrestling fan now. He likes AEW a lot. He also, he's kind of like me. He just likes wrestling, and so he'll watch anything. And of course, like all the kids, he thinks Will Ospreay and Darby Allin are the coolest because they do the craziest shit. And I was like, I totally get it. And he also loves Powerhouse Hobbs. And I go, why do you like Powerhouse Hobbs? And he goes, because he's jacked. And I was like, exactly. You have distilled the essence of what makes a good professional wrestler. You don't have to have all of them, but if they're jacked and or they do cool moves, they're gonna be over. Which is why Goldberg was so over, because he was jacked and he did cool moves. Didn't matter if they couldn't work a hold. Didn't matter.
Right. Same thing with the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh man, exactly. And there's just certain people who get by on their aura, and that's all they need to do. And dude, when I got into wrestling, I got in kind of late, like right before Attitude Era kicked in, right before it was like a couple months before the Monday Night Wars really kicked off. And my 3 favorite wrestlers were Sid, Ahmed Johnson, and Vader. Bro,
Nothing wrong with that.
Nope. But then I grew up and I was like, I used to love watching Ahmed Johnson's matches. Now I'm like, I feel so bad for the guys in the ring with that dude. That man was a nightmare in there. Whew. I'm not a Vader was, Vader was great, but like easy night. But at least Leon knew how to protect people. It seemed so.
He didn't know how to wash his gear.
yeah. That's not. See, I always hear that story, and I'm like, man, he must have just been on a bad streak or something. Because I was on a few shows with him. He didn't smell, but maybe that he was smartened up to it, and I have no idea.
Maybe it's a weekly thing for him.
Vader's a guy I will always defend. Even if he was stinky, I don't give a shit. Let him be stinky, okay?
Oh.
I didn't have to work him, as what's her face would say on Twitter. What was that chick's name? Sarah Stock. Yeah, she was having a good one. She was having a good one a couple weeks ago. He never touched me with this stinky gear. Yeah, I don't know. I heard that, and I was on. I feel kind of bad. It's like he's gone. He can't defend himself. So did he stink? Did he not? I don't know. I just loved Vader, and I got to meet him on one of my first out-of-state wrestling shows, and it was one of the and Mike Austin in the same show. And we got to eat dinner. Me and Roddy ate dinner with Mike Austin and Vader after the show, Leon, and it was incredible. I talked PC gaming with Mike Austin. He was healthier at that point in mind and body. And he talked about PC gaming and like how much he loved playing computer games with his kids. In retrospect, obviously heartbreaking. And he was one of my favorite wrestlers ever too. So I got to sit with Mike Awesome and Vader. Vader tells Roddy, because of course they're cracking beers, you know. Vader tells Roddy the Stan Hansen story, you know, in the Tokyo Dome where he busts his orbital bone out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
who knows how much of this is embellished? You know how those old timers love to make stuff up. But he said he got like a crazy bonus from the office for finishing that match. I guess because of the fighting spirit and all that. But it was a really cool story to hear how matter of fact he was about getting his eyeball pushed out of his skull.
Have you ever seen an injury in the ring comparable to the Vader eye socket one?
I've seen this happen. I saw an injury happen in a match I was in the first few years of my career, and it was so traumatizing for me. It was a compound fracture of a finger, and yeah, it was me and Roddy and Cedric Strong, which deep dive. You guys are probably familiar, but most people say there's another one. Like, yeah, there was almost a third. So we were in a match. I went to do like a belly to belly on him, and he when he landed, his hand was like above his head, and I bumped on his hand, and it was like his finger was pointed up, so it just split. And it looked like a chicken wing. Because I heard him gasp, and I turn around, and you know I'm like wet behind the ears. I'm softer than Charmin. Like I'm just starting. You know, I did not have a hard upbringing. I was, you know, wrestling was a big shock to my system, the culture at that time. I mean, early 2000s in Florida, brother. And so that was the craziest shit I had ever seen. I was like, that is god awful. You know, I mean, obviously I go to the hospital with him. We stay up all hours of the night. We have a good story to tell, but you know, for a little green guy like me, that was nightmarish.
Jeez Louise,
I've seen those. I mean, what's worse than that is the concussions. Is the guys? Yeah. I mean, I've been knocked out a lot, but my first double shot in Ring of Honor, Mark Briscoe does a shooting star off the top, lands on his head, and ends up being in a coma for a week in Detroit. You know, I thought I saw him die. I didn't know. So, you know, I met him through FIP, so I knew him pretty well, and I was like, wow, my first double shot, and Mark Briscoe's done, but he was. Like Mark Briscoe does, he was fine. I don't know how he does it, but he's that dude. Every time I see him wrestle, I'm like, I cannot believe this man's still doing it, because that's not a guy that ever took it easy, ever, ever, even from backyard wrestling. Just been going hard for 30 years now.
You had spent some time in MLW as part of Team Filthy, and I'd really enjoyed that. Was it just like a timing thing? Like, I wish we got more of you there.
Yeah, they brought me in a little bit later. MSL and Court had reached out to me a couple of times, and frankly, I hate TV wrestling. Hate it. The Ring of Honor HDNet years really killed any sort of allure there might have been for being to wrestle on a TV product. It's just not my thing. A lot of long days of doing nothing, and some guys like the catering, some guys like the doing nothing. That's not my thing. I like to fly into a town, spend a couple hours in the hotel, do my thing, fly back. That's what I like to do. So it was, you know, like pulling teeth, but they got me in there, and I got to do stuff with some of my best friends in wrestling, Tom and Dom, and that was a blast. And so really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed almost starting a riot in Texas with the Von Erichs. That was a high point in my career as a wrestling fan. I mean, it was an honor, you know. Plus, I am kind of a shit stirrer, and that I'm just wishing somebody would. A lot of times, I'm just like, one of these days, I'm gonna make use of this jiu-jitsu. Someday, I'm gonna get to use it in the streets. The day has not happened. The day has not happened where I get to prove how good I am at ground karate fighting. But someday I will. But yeah, I mean, it was a fun time. But those, like I said, get to a call time at 10 or 11 a.m. and you just spend all day there. And it's like just mind-numbingly boring to me. Not to mention, I ended up back at the arena doing a long TV taping. I had like PTSD. It was not great. I will say this though, I do enjoy any chance to do like a backstage segment with some character work, because I didn't get a lot of chance to do that at Ring of Honor. So it was a lot of fun times, a lot of multiple takes being done, because they had at the time the guy from American Top Team, the manager guy,
Dan Lambert.
Holy shit, that guy is hilarious. We had to do so many takes, man. He was on one. He was a special guy. He really gets it. Like as a talking guy in wrestling, like he got it from day one. And so that was a lot of fun putting him with us. But I think it was with King Mo, and we were doing something with King Mo, which is another super random thing that MLW does. Just King Mo title run, let's go. But like that was just, it was fun. Glad to say I did it. They actually asked me, I think, to come back at a certain point. I just said, I'm good. It's not my thing.
Now, do you got anybody on your bucket list for this run you're on now to work before you hang it up again one day?
Yeah, I think that. I'm wondering if So, as a civilian, I have a lot of hot takes on Twitter. Sometimes I get on these podcasts, I wonder if I should say how I really feel, but I'm not going to, because that would go against my own personal philosophies, in that I like to amplify the things I like about professional wrestling. I like to promote the things I like, and I just ignore the shit that I don't like. Very simple. I know it seems alien to a lot of wrestling fans these days to not participate in the discourse, but you can do it. So there are DPW, let's just eliminate DPW, because DPW has a roster full of people that I still have to tangle with. But I'd like to wrestle Ryan Clancy. I think Ryan Clancy's an example of a guy who has not yet been tainted by WWE ID and is still, one of these raw indie talents who I think has a lot of promise. I know his drop kick has gone viral, but he is just a really good athlete, a really good, like, basic fundamental professional wrestler, which I think is becoming kind of a lost art on the independents. And clearly, it's 2025. It's a far cry from what it was in the 2000s or even 2010s for a litany of reasons, mostly because every good indie wrestler gets a little bit of clout and they get signed, and then you have this power vacuum, and it gets filled with increasingly less deserving, less seasoned competitors. And that's why we have the scene we have now. But I digress. I like to focus on the good stuff. And I cannot believe that Roddy match happened. I still feel like that was a dream. If that can happen, then I'll say this: I would love to wrestle Go Shiozaki one more time. That would be so cool, because I can't believe he's still wrestling. That's a guy that went extremely hard, to the point that his body started disintegrating.
Yeah, it's wild, man. In the last 3 years, we're out here in Jersey, and AEW has come through in New York and New Jersey, and I've got to see the Great Muta wrestle and Shiozaki, and it's like, man, what a time to be alive.
I mean, wrestlers are having longer careers than ever because of modern medicine. We got all sorts of cool drugs we can use to live longer, and we have all this research. We know how to recover. We know how to train and eat better. So I think we're going to see a lot longer, career spans for the guys who are doing it the right way and not going a little bit too hard too soon. But yeah, I was shocked that he didn't retire. When he left Noah, I thought he would be done for good. So it was nice to see him reappear in All Japan yet again.
We're talking with Erick Stevens at Erick Stevens 82 on the Twitter machine. We're not going to keep you all night, Eric, but I have to ask you, because I ask every guest, and I feel like we might get something out of you on this one. When was the last time you shit your pants?
Last time I shit my pants, I was on vacation with my wife. We went to California, and we flew in to Sacramento, and then drove, did like the loop, went to LA, went to San Diego. We took a plane from San Diego to LA. And the night before we left San Diego, I had sushi. And for the first time and only time, knock on wood, in my life, I got food poisoning, violent food poisoning. And so luckily I got most of it out of my system before we had to get on the plane. Because, I mean, I don't know if you've ever experienced it, but having that, when you have violent diarrhea, you can't hold it. There's no holding it.
No.
So when that plane's taxiing, who knows how long it's going to be. So my fear at that point was that I was just going to get stuck there. But luckily it was a quick sequence, and we were up in the air, and then I destroyed their bathroom. I felt so bad, man. Like, I never want to poop on an airplane. It's just not polite, right? But it was multiple times, just spraying that thing, just spackling it. It was god awful. But I really thought that by the time we landed, it would have been cleared, right? Because it's usually like a 24-hour thing, 24 hours. And so we get in the car, and my stomach hurts so bad, and we're driving, and there's no like gas station because we're in LA, and there's 19 lanes for some ungodly reason. And I'm like, oh man, I just gotta get some tension off my stomach. I gotta fart. And I farted.
I bet you
mostly. And so I was like, you know how you go a little bit too far and you immediately clench. You're like,
Yep.
Was it too late? Did I make the cut? And I was like, we gotta pull up. I have to go to the bathroom really bad. So I go into the bathroom, and I go to the bathroom, and like, I know you probably want to hear that I just completely filled my pants, but it wasn't that bad. No. However, it was the closest I've ever come to the point that those undies did not leave that bathroom. I took them off, and I deposited them into the trash can where they stayed forever, because I was like, yo, that was like I Jackson Pollocked my undies.
See, that's the right answer. Well done. There is a member of the panel here that would actually prefer to wash the undies that he just shit in a porta potty. So, yeah.
Had I been local and not on a trip, would I have tried to save them? Probably not, because I think about now, like we have a puppy. She's just one now, and every once in a while she'll have an accident in her cage and like poop on her blanket, and we just toss that shit. I'm not trying to wash that. It's
the
right, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not pee.
Yep.
It's poop. So, which
reminds me,
I admonish my son for not wiping thoroughly enough. That's always fun. 9-year-old. I'm like, what is this? Good Lord, did you even try? Look like my underwear in friggin' LA. What the hell?
I also like that you got the question, because we've asked some guys the question, and they're like a log? No, if you're like taking full dumps in your pants, you should not be on this podcast. You should be going to a doctor immediately.
The only scenario in which crapping your pants as an adult is acceptable is, I guess, I've never been this drunk, but I guess if you're blackout drunk, maybe that happens, or you have a violent case of food poisoning. And
bingo.
Then, other than that, I mean, my worst nightmare is trying to wrestle with like food poisoning, like, because I'm such a sicko that I'm not missing this fucking booking. I'd be like white knuckling the plane seat and be like, what is wrong with this guy? He's going through withdrawals or something over it. But no, it happens. Another fun story. I wrestled Necro Butcher once, and he gave me an atomic drop onto a chair this way. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but you can bleed from your taint. You can bust it open. So that's definitely worse than pulling down your underwear and seeing poop, is pulling down your underwear and seeing blood.
And then who do you have check to like?
I mean, you do, you're like, am I opened up? Like, what's going on down here? And you're like, oh, it's like a scratch, but you just don't think your perineum can be opened up and you like get cut. Like, I mean, it hurt like a bitch. Like you can imagine landing tailbone first, just between nuts and butthole onto a steel chair. But that's wrestling necro, man. That's how.
But is there like, do you have to like go to someone in the locker room and be like, "Hey, man, like I need a favor. You got."
No, I think that I noticed that it's like it didn't keep bleeding, so I was like, cool, all right.
Okay.
I didn't rupture anything. We're good, because that would have been a very embarrassing trip to the hospital.
Didn't X-Pac tear his asshole?
He did. Oh,
Yes.
that story. I think didn't he tear? Oh no, that was Johnny the Bull that tore his urethra. That was a hell of a.
That's right. Yeah.
How do you do that?
Doing a guillotine leg drop off the top rope to the outside. You've never seen this bump? This is an infamous clip. What's the best part is the story behind it, and that he told Terry Funk he was going to do it, and Terry said, "Don't do it." He told other people, they said, "Don't do it." He was so desperate to like get over and like, to prove that he was worthwhile, I guess, that he had to do this bump. And you can see as soon as he lands, it's the padded part, but it doesn't matter. As soon as he lands, that expression on his face, he's like, they were right. They were right. And that's like he broke his tailbone, his pelvis, I think, and tore his urethra. I'm like, wow, dude. That's not. It just gives me the chills.
I want to say he's a real estate agent out here in Jersey now. Johnny the Bull.
I mean, that makes sense. And he's always trying to pick something that kind of has a tertiary element of professional wrestling. So just do something where you bullshit a lot and you're good.
Eric, this has been a blast.
Cedric Strong. I don't know if anybody trivia. He sells cars and he's amazing at it. He's like probably owns his own dealership at this point.
Oh, so does Marco Stunt now.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That was making the rounds like 2 weeks ago. He's a car salesman now.
I can't see that. That's not. But I mean, maybe it works. You're like, oh, you're selling your car. Okay, let's go. Anyways, that's the mental image that I am obsessed with right now.
Yeah, if you just Google it, I'm sure you'll be able to find the video. He put like an Instagram video, like I sell cars now, and then like a dealership. It was weird.
Yeah, well, that's entertaining too.
Johnny the Bull is an associate sales director. You can get your next home loan from him.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, Johnny. That's what I'm talking about.
Dude, his neck is as big as his cranium. He's a gigantic neck like this.
Is he still jacked? That's good. Because
you can tell. I mean, he's wearing a suit and tie in the picture, but yeah, you can clearly tell he's a monster.
That's awesome. I always love when guys either just get in better shape or just just stay in the same shape. I'm a big fan of seeing dudes who had no reason to still be in great shape, just being living a good life.
Yeah, he after WWE, he went to the University of Georgia and got a degree in finance. Look at that.
What the hell, Johnny the Bull?
Fucking A, man.
That's great.
Good for him.
Yeah, Eric, this has been amazing. Anytime you want to come back on and shoot the shit or just talk about wrestling, I mean, I'm sure right in your wheelhouse. We do homework every week. We had to watch the Malenkos against the Can-Am Express from All Japan. So
he says we had to watch like it was a bad match.
No, it was.
Oh, we had to watch the Malenkos. Oh my god.
Yeah. What's cool about that match is that there is one of the greatest technical wrestlers of all time in that match, and there's also Dean Malenko.
Yeah.
Because Joe
was
Joe is the dog. Nobody remembers Joe. I love Dean. Before we go, since you just mentioned Dean, I have to tell you this story. I just told it to the kids at the wrestling school the other week. So I'm in Tampa eating sushi with my girlfriend. My girlfriend's mom is a New Yorker, very outgoing. I'm super shy. Once again, soft as Charmin, just wet behind the ears, green as hell. Eating sushi, and I see Dean Malenko walk in the front door. I'm a huge Dean Malenko mark, massive. And I'm like, oh my God, that's Dean Malenko. And my girlfriend's mom was like, who's Dean Malenko? I'm like, oh, he's a wrestler. She goes, you want me to go introduce you to him? I go, no, absolutely not. I don't. No, this is 2004. So he's like, still Dean Malenko. And so we're eating dinner, and thank God I seemed to have talked her off the ledge, and we're walking out. And of course, he's walking towards us for some reason, probably going to the bathroom. And so she says, "Hey, this is Eric. He's my daughter's boyfriend. He's a professional wrestler. Do you have any advice for him?" And I will never forget this until the day I die. He looks me dead in the face, does not change his facial expression, and he goes, "Pick another business," and walks away. Wow. No giggle, no wink, no smile, nothing. I had an existential crisis right there. I was like, what does he mean? Should I not be a wrestler? What is it? Because at first you're like, oh, he thinks I suck, so I shouldn't do it. And then you're like, oh wait, he just thinks that about the wrestling business. And after many years, I realized that's Dean, and you can't take things personal. He was right though. He was fucking right. Son of a bitch. He had the foresight. He knew.
Man, Eric, this was I had such a good time. I'm sure we could talk to you all night, but I know you're a busy guy. You had a long day. And you got to prepare for Friday. If you can't be in California, DPW does have the on-demand thing. So if you don't get to see it live, you can watch it. I went back and I watched the Roddy match. It's 16 minutes of awesome. And, Eric and Brian Keith this Friday night will not disappoint. If you're familiar with Brian Keith and Eric's work, it's something you don't want to miss. And, man, if I can be there in Newark on the 21st, I would love to celebrate my 44th birthday in Newark, New Jersey.
Heart Ballroom, baby.
Why not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm 100%.
It's been a long time since I spent a lot of time in Newark. A lot of time in Newark, but not much of it good, I gotta say. Well, the airport was there. They fly us into Ring of Honor would fly us into Newark. I can just say at the worst hotels I've ever stayed at is in Newark. So, but if your life doesn't feel threatened, is it really that great of a trip? But who knows? Yeah, I've spent most of my time in North Carolina since coming back, so I'd like to. That's one of my goals as far as this run goes for the next, who knows how long it's going to be. But I'm planning on wrestling into next year. And I'd like to see some other locales that I haven't seen in a while. So, New Jersey, New York, Chicago. I'd love to go back to those areas and kind of relive the glory years. But I'm just grateful to be back and having a blast. And I think Brian and I at the Showdown in Cary this weekend or this Friday should be quite the tussle.
Awesome.
I look forward to it, man. Eric, thank you, man. This was a lot of fun.
That's what I try to do. I don't try to wrestling. Sometimes when people get too serious with it, it loses the appeal to me. So I think we gotta laugh about stuff. And when I go out there, I try to have fun matches that people want to watch. So luckily, I have the luxury of not giving a shit anymore, and that's what I do. So
comes with age, man.
Yep. It's a good place to be.
Well, we love you, Eric. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule, man. And we'd talk soon. We'd love to get you back on.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Thanks for joining us, brother.
Thanks a lot, Eric.
Good night.
Erick Stevens.